My entitled sister demanded I cancel my wedding because her kid deserves a Disney trip more, then showed up uninvited and ruined the cake. Now my family says I overreacted. I never thought planning a wedding would cause a rift in my family that might never fully heal. I always assumed the stress would come from seating charts or flower arrangements, not from having to deal with my sister throwing a tantrum because I had the audacity to have a wedding at all. But here I am, married, exhausted, and wondering how many more birthdays or holidays I'll have to spend choosing between peace and principle. What happened has left me so stunned that I'm honestly still processing it, but writing this out might help me make sense of it, or at least give me some validation that I'm not losing my mind. My name's Megan, 29F, and I got married 3 weeks ago to Aaron, 31M, the love of my life. We've been together for 5 years, lived together for 3, and got engaged last summer. The engagement itself was perfect, simple, intimate, just the two of us on a quiet hike where we watched the sun rise over a valley we both love. We didn't post about it for a week, wanting to keep it to ourselves a bit longer. That moment was ours. But when we finally told our families, that's when things started to shift, especially with my older sister Hannah, 34F. Hannah has always had a knack for making everything about her. I love her, because she's my sister, because we share childhood memories, because there's a part of me that will always want her approval, but I also know who she is. She's dramatic, self-centered, and very used to being the center of attention. She had Lily, her daughter, at 22, and for the past 12 years she's played the role of overworked single mom like it's her only identity. I'm not minimizing her struggles, because I know it hasn't been easy. But she also uses that status like a weapon, like everyone else's life should be on hold because hers is hard. And any time someone else in the family has a big moment, she somehow finds a way to turn it into her crisis. It's been a pattern for years. When Aaron and I started planning the wedding, we knew we couldn't afford something massive, but we did want something special. We picked a cozy venue at the edge of town, a converted barn with twinkle lights, wooden beams, and a garden that blooms in late spring. We made our budget stretch by doing a lot ourselves, asking friends for help with music and decor, and limiting the guest list to 85 people. It wasn't extravagant, but it was personal and beautiful. We sent out invites about 4 months before the big day, and that's when the problem started. Hannah called me 2 days after getting the invite and said, flatly, I can't afford this. I was confused at first, thinking she meant the dress or travel, but then she clarified, I can't afford to do this and take Lily to Disney like I promised. And honestly, she deserves that more than you need a wedding. I blinked. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. I told her I understood if she couldn't make it, but that I hoped she would, because I wanted her there. She started going off about how it was selfish to expect her to drop hundreds of dollars on a gift, a dress, and a weekend trip just so I could wear a white dress and play princess for a day. I was floored. I tried to explain that we weren't asking anyone to buy us anything, and that the wedding was local, it wouldn't cost more than gas and maybe a babysitter if she didn't want to bring Lily. But she kept hammering home that Lily had been counting on this trip to Disney, and that it was honestly disgusting that I would make her choose between her daughter's happiness and some tacky Instagram event. I told her, gently but firmly, that our wedding wasn't about her, and that if she couldn't come, that was fine, but I wasn't going to cancel my wedding so she could afford a vacation. She hung up on me. I didn't hear from her again until 2 weeks before the wedding, when my mom called to say that Hannah was still hurt and felt left out, and maybe I should try to smooth things over. I asked how exactly I was supposed to do that when I hadn't done anything wrong. My mom said, "You know how she is," like that was an excuse for her behavior. That phrase has been used so many times in my family to justify Hannah's tantrums that it's basically lost all meaning. I refused to apologize, but I did send Hannah a message saying the invitation still stood and that I hoped she and Lily could come, but I understood if it wasn't possible. She didn't respond. Fast forward to the wedding day. Everything was going beautifully. I was nervous, of course, but also excited. My dress fit perfectly, Aaron looked amazing in his navy suit, the weather was perfect, and the ceremony went off without a hitch. My dad walked me down the aisle, my best friend cried through her entire speech, and for the first time in ages, I felt truly happy. We were just finishing dinner when I saw her. Hannah. In a bright red dress, with Lily trailing behind her in sparkly flip-flops and a wrinkled sundress. Neither had been on the guest list, and neither had our SVPD. I saw the look of confusion ripple through our tables as people whispered and pointed. Aaron gave me a look like, "What the hell is she doing here?" and I honestly had no answer. But that wasn't even the worst part. Not 5 minutes after they arrived, as we were preparing to cut the cake, Lily darted forward and plunged both hands into it. Just shoved her hands in like it was Play-Doh. People gasped. I was frozen. And Hannah? She laughed. She laughed and said, "She's just a kid. You didn't really expect her to just sit there and watch you cut a cake, did you?" I felt like the world had stopped. Aaron stepped in first. He asked them to leave. Calmly, but firmly. Hannah rolled her eyes and said we were being dramatic and ruining Lily's day. I snapped. I told her she was the one who ruined the cake, crashed the wedding, and made everything about her, again. She called me a jealous, bitter bitch who couldn't handle not being the center of attention for once. We had a screaming match right there, in front of everyone. Eventually, Aaron's brother escorted her out while Lily cried and screamed, still licking frosting off her fingers. Half my family looked mortified. The other half? They avoided eye contact with me for the rest of the night. I didn't even eat a slice of cake. The baker felt awful, but there wasn't time to salvage anything. We danced. We drank. We tried to pretend it didn't happen. But it did. And now? Now my mom says I overreacted. She says I shouldn't have kicked them out, that it was just cake, that Lily didn't know better and Hannah was, clearly hurting. My aunt says I should have turned the other cheek. A cousin said, at least she showed up, like that was some kind of favor. I'm so tired. So angry. And so sick of being told to tolerate chaos just because that's family. And worst of all, Hannah hasn't apologized. Not even once. The morning after the wedding, I woke up in a daze, like my body knew something had gone horribly wrong before my brain could even put it into words. Aaron was already up, sitting on the edge of the bed with his phone in his hand, just staring at it like it had personally offended him. I asked him if everything was okay, and he turned to me with this expression I'll never forget, half disappointment, half rage. Apparently, someone had already posted a short video on Facebook of Lily destroying the cake, and another clip of me yelling at Hannah. It had been reshared by a few extended family members and some of our high school friends, all with comments ranging from "OMG drama" to "This is why you don't mix family and events." I felt like throwing up. I didn't even get a moment to decompress or enjoy being a newlywed. Instead, I spent the first morning of married life reading passive-aggressive messages from relatives about how it was such a shame things ended badly, or kids will be kids, or maybe you could have been more graceful. Not a single message asked how I was feeling. Not one person acknowledged that a 12-year-old ruined our wedding cake, or that her mother showed up uninvited after explicitly being told she wasn't welcome without an RSVP. Aaron was furious on my behalf. He offered to respond to every single comment and shut it all down, but I asked him not to. I didn't want this turning into an even bigger drama circus. I just wanted to make it go away. But it didn't go away. Because 2 days later, I got a text from Hannah. It said, "So I assume you're still mad, but I hope you know Lily feels terrible now. She didn't mean to ruin anything. She thought it was part of the fun. And honestly, maybe you shouldn't have had a giant cake just sitting there if you didn't want kids to touch it. You made her feel really embarrassed." I sat on the edge of the tub, rereading that message over and over again. No apology. No accountability. Not even a real attempt to make peace. She shifted the blame entirely to me for embarrassing her child and for having a cake out in the open, as if it were bait. I responded with something calm, maybe too calm. I'm sorry Lily feels embarrassed. She should. You owe us both an apology, and next time, RSVP like everyone else. She didn't reply. But my mom called within the hour. And this is when things really started unraveling. Mom said she'd just gotten off the phone with Hannah, and that she was disappointed in the way I was handling things. She told me I should have been more understanding, that Hannah didn't want to be left out, and that showing up was her way of extending an olive branch. I was stunned. I asked how showing up uninvited, laughing while her daughter destroyed a wedding cake, and then cussing me out in front of everyone could possibly be interpreted as goodwill. My mom said, "You've always been the more emotionally mature one. You could have handled it better." That sentence broke something in me. I've spent my entire life being the mature one, the one who kept the peace while Hannah stormed through everything like a tornado in flip-flops. I'm the one who got good grades, never asked for money, planned my life out, showed up on time, remembered birthdays, helped my mom fix the garage door when Dad left. I did those things. And yet somehow, I was still expected to bend, to absorb the impact of my sister's bad decisions because she has it harder. No one asked how much time I spent planning that wedding. No one asked how it felt to watch that beautiful cake, a gift from Aaron's aunt who runs a small bakery, be ruined in seconds. That cake was more than dessert. It was symbolic of effort, of love, of support from Aaron's family when mine clearly couldn't be bothered. And now I couldn't even post a photo of it without people whispering behind my back. A few days after that, we hosted a casual dinner with Aaron's parents and siblings, our version of a mini honeymoon since we had to postpone the real one for a few months due to work schedules. We were sitting on the patio, drinking wine and laughing, when his mom brought out a replacement cake. It wasn't a replica, just a beautiful gesture to say, "Hey, let's make a new memory." I cried. Right there in front of everyone. Because that's what love looks like. That's what family is supposed to be. Meanwhile, on my side, things only got worse. My aunt, mom's sister, called me the following weekend and said, "You know, I'm not taking sides, but maybe you could be the bigger person and invite Hannah over for a make-up dinner. Let Lily apologize in person. It's the mature thing to do." I asked her point blank if Hannah had apologized at all yet, and she hesitated before admitting, "Well, no. But you know how she is." There it was again. That excuse. That mantra. You know how she is. Like Hannah being a self-centered, entitled nightmare is just a fact of life I need to live with, like gravity or taxes. But I'm done. I'm so done being the one who folds to keep the peace. If that means fewer family dinners or skipping Christmas, so be it. I didn't marry Aaron to inherit more drama. I married him to start a life where I don't constantly have to compromise my boundaries just because my family refuses to hold one person accountable. So now here I am, 3 weeks after the wedding, still picking frosting out of my shoes and deciding whether I even want to keep certain people in my life. I haven't responded to any of the subtle jabs on social media. I haven't texted Hannah again. And I haven't accepted my mom's invitation to Sunday dinner next week, because she made it clear Hannah and Lily would be there and she expects me to be civil. Civil? After the screaming? After the public humiliation? After the cake? I told her I'd think about it. But I won't go. I can't. Because if I do, it'll just be one more example of me eating my pride so Hannah doesn't have to feel bad for being awful. And I think I've swallowed enough pride to last a lifetime. By the end of the 3rd week, I'd officially blocked Hannah on everything. I didn't make a scene about it, didn't post some vague, dramatic status, just hit block on Instagram, Facebook, and even her number. I was done giving her access to my life if she wasn't going to respect it. I told my mom I needed space, and she replied with a single thumbs up emoji, which, to be honest, hurt more than an angry response would have. That little icon felt like a passive-aggressive pat on the head, like I was being dramatic and she was just indulging me. But I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I started focusing on work again, and Aaron, bless him, tried to keep me distracted. He planned little weekend getaways, made our dinners into at-home dates, and kept reminding me that our life wasn't about them. And I tried to believe it. I really did. But every time I saw a wedding post on my feed, or someone asked me, "How was the big day?" with that excited sparkle in their eyes, I'd freeze up and fake a smile. I'd nod and say, "It was beautiful," and change the subject. Because how do you tell someone your sister's kid ruined your cake and your family blamed you? Then came the letter. A handwritten one, folded into a pink envelope, dropped into our mailbox without a stamp. Which meant Hannah, or someone on her behalf, had driven to our house. I didn't even want to touch it, like it was cursed. But curiosity got the better of me. It was from Lily. It started with "Dear Auntie," and was written in that uneven scrawl only preteens have. It said she was sorry for messing up the cake, that she thought it was funny, and that she only did it because she was trying to make people laugh. Then she said she hoped I wasn't mad at her forever, and asked if we could still go to Disneyland one day like you said we would when I was 5. I stared at that last sentence for a long time. When Lily was 5, I took her to a Disney-themed event at a mall. She'd begged to go to real Disneyland someday, and I remember laughing and saying, "Maybe one day I'll take you myself." It was just a thing you say to kids. I didn't realize she'd remembered it this long. And for a second, I felt this wave of guilt. Not because I was wrong, but because Lily wasn't the villain in this. She's a kid. A spoiled one, sure. Undisciplined. But not malicious. So I wrote her back. Not a long letter. Just a short note saying, "Thank you for the letter. I appreciate your apology. I think it's best we take a little break for now, but I'm not mad at you forever." I didn't mention Disneyland. I wasn't about to let her mother weaponize my words again. I sealed the envelope, walked it down to their house, they live about 10 minutes away, and dropped it in their box. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. 2 days later, Hannah posted a long status on Facebook, one of those melodramatic, clearly targeted, not naming names, rants. She wrote, "Some people are so fake, pretending to forgive but really just trying to look good to others. If you're going to hold a grudge against a child, maybe you're the one who needs therapy. I hope your marriage brings you more joy than your family clearly does." The worst part? My mom liked it. I stared at that stupid blue thumbs up on my mom's name for a full minute. She didn't even try to hide it. Didn't even call to explain. She just aligned herself with that passive-aggressive garbage like it was totally justified. And that was the final straw. I took a screenshot and sent it to her with a message that just said, "So I guess this is where we stand now." She didn't reply for almost a day. When she did, all she said was, "You're blowing this way out of proportion." Way out of proportion. Like the cake wasn't real. Like the scene at the wedding didn't happen. Like I hadn't spent years brushing off insults, taking the high road, giving Hannah second, third, 10th chances. Apparently, I was supposed to just keep absorbing the hits. Let them smile through my humiliation, let them call me dramatic for having boundaries. Aaron was the one who said it best later that night. He sat me down, held my hand, and said, "You don't have to win this. You just have to stop playing their game." And something about that clicked. I realized I didn't want to keep explaining myself. I didn't want to keep asking for apologies from people who thought hurting me was justified. I just wanted to move on. So that's what I'm doing. I'm moving on. We're planning a redo wedding celebration in the spring. Just a small thing, us, our closest friends, Aaron's family, and a vow renewal in a beautiful park. No drama. No social media invites. No cake smashing. Just love. And I don't care if anyone from my side comes anymore. I don't care if they get upset or call me cold or say I'm punishing them. Because the truth is, they punished me for years and called it family. And I'm finally done pretending that's love. Update 2. So here's the update I didn't think I'd ever be writing. I really thought cutting off contact would be the end of it, quiet, maybe awkward, but peaceful. I'd imagined myself just living my life while they either moved on or stewed in their own drama. But apparently, letting go doesn't mean people let you go back. Not when they've built their lives around believing you're the problem. It started with a phone call from my cousin Jess. We're not super close, but we've always gotten along. She was one of the few people from my side of the family who actually came to the wedding and wasn't involved in any of the chaos. Jess called me out of the blue one evening and said, "Hey, I just thought you should know, there's talk going around about you planning some exclusive do-over wedding and how you're deliberately trying to humiliate Hannah and your mom." I remember sitting down slowly at our kitchen table, just gripping the edge with my free hand. I asked her what she meant exactly. Jess said that apparently Hannah told a few extended relatives that I was throwing a revenge party and not inviting any family except for Aaron's people and people who worship the ground you walk on. She even claimed I told her Lily was permanently banned from my life. That part pissed me off. I literally wrote back to Lily with kindness and never said anything cruel to her. But clearly, Hannah wasn't above twisting things. What's worse, it sounded like she was doing this deliberately before we'd even sent out invitations. We were still in early planning stages. We hadn't finalized the. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud when Jess told me that, because the irony was just too much. Put family first, after they'd stormed my wedding, let a child destroy my cake, and treated me like an overreacting villain for not smiling through it all. And now they were the ones planning some dramatic ambush like I was the one ruining the peace. Aaron, to his credit, was calm as always. He said, "Maybe don't go to Grandma's party. Let the storm rage on without you." But I hated the idea of letting them scare me away from my own family's events. My grandmother's birthday wasn't about them. It was about her. She's in her late 80s. I didn't want to miss that for some petty grudge. So I went. And it was exactly the circus I expected it to be. The second I walked in, Hannah's eyes locked on me like I just walked onto a battlefield. She plastered on a fake smile, sipped her wine, and made a big show of waving me over like we were besties. I ignored her. I spent time with Grandma, gave her a framed photo from the wedding, pre-cake incident, and chatted with the few relatives who hadn't picked sides. For a while, I thought maybe it wouldn't happen. Maybe they chickened out. Then, just before dessert, my mom asked if we could chat privately, in the sunroom. It was her, Hannah, and one aunt. The moment we were alone, it began. They started with the usual passive-aggressive openers, "We're just worried about you," and "This isn't who you are." Then they eased into guilt, "Families fight but don't shut each other out," and "You know Lily still cries about how cold you've been." And finally, the manipulation bomb, "Don't you think this new wedding is a bit excessive? I mean, isn't it time to let go?" I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at all three of them and said, "You let a child destroy my wedding cake," then blamed me for being upset. "You let Hannah crash the most important day of my life," then called me dramatic for reacting. "You watched me walk away, and instead of reflecting, you started a smear campaign. Why exactly should I let that go?" They were stunned. My mom opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. Hannah crossed her arms and looked at the floor. My aunt actually muttered, "Well, when you put it like that." I told them I wasn't going to play their game anymore. I said I would live my life, and they could either show up for it respectfully or not at all. And if they chose not at all, that was fine too. Then I walked out. Grandma gave me the warmest hug when I said goodbye. I hope, she knew what had gone down behind the scenes. As of now, the redo celebration is fully planned. Invites are sent. And no, Hannah, Mom, or any of the people who enabled that behavior are not invited. I've chosen joy over tradition. Boundaries over guilt. And guess what? It feels really good. Update 3. Hey everyone, I figured it was time for another update on this saga, though I can't believe we're still talking about it. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and I honestly thought the worst was behind me. But if anything, things have only gotten more complicated since I cut ties with my mom and Hannah. The biggest thing I want to talk about right now is the fallout from my decision to go ahead with the wedding celebration and not invite them. I honestly thought they'd just sulk and move on. After all, they'd already caused enough chaos. But what I didn't expect was the level of manipulation they'd go to in order to paint me as the villain. Hannah in particular really knows how to twist the narrative. First, there's the fact that my mom, without any direct confrontation, has been telling family members I'm abandoning the family, and punishing them for no reason. She's been telling everyone she's just trying to help me fix my relationship with Hannah, and how sad it is that I've isolated myself over a stupid wedding incident. I've had cousins reach out to me, basically asking me why I'm being so cold toward my mom and sister. They're all acting like I'm the one being irrational. One of them even suggested I try a heart-to-heart with my mom to clear the air. When I explained to this cousin, who I'm really close with, that this wasn't about a single incident, it was about years of emotional neglect and boundary pushing, they just didn't get it. They said something along the lines of, "But this is family. You can't just walk away from them." I could feel my blood pressure rising. I didn't even bother engaging beyond saying, "I'm just doing what's best for me right now. If that's hard for you to understand, I'm sorry." And I left it at that. But the kicker? Hannah showed up at the redo wedding celebration. I'm not sure if she didn't get the memo or if she thought crashing it would somehow force me to forgive her, but she waltzed in uninvited, with her husband and Lily in tow. It was about an hour into the celebration. Erin was mingling with some friends, and I was talking to a couple of my close college buddies when I saw her. Hannah. Standing in the doorway like she owned the place. The moment I saw her, I felt that old gut punch. It's funny how you can think you've healed, but just the sight of someone who's hurt you so much can bring it all rushing back. But this time, I didn't let it throw me. I didn't let her ruin the vibe of my own celebration. I just walked right over to her, cool as a cucumber, and said, "I see you decided to come after all. I hope you're not expecting a seat at the table." I could feel Aaron behind me, and I didn't need to turn around to know he was just as ready to shut this down. Hannah tried to give me that fake, innocent smile she does when she knows she's in the wrong. She mumbled something about how she was just here to make peace, but it was all bullshit. She started talking about how awkward it was for her to be excluded from such a special day, and how she hoped we could all move past this for Lily's sake. I felt my whole body tense, but I refused to let her bait me. Aaron stepped up, finally. He's usually the calm one, but he'd had enough of Hannah's games. He told her she was no longer welcome and suggested she leave. She hesitated, clearly trying to process that we weren't going to just fold, but I didn't care. I wasn't about to let her hijack this day. Eventually, she turned around with a huff, dragging Lily and her husband along. Before they left, though, she turned back to me one last time and said, "You know, you're going to regret this. No one's going to stand by you when you've pushed everyone away." That, of course, was the guilt trip she always tried to pull, making it seem like I was the one causing the rift by sticking up for myself. It was clear as day. She was projecting all her own feelings of guilt onto me. And you know what? I didn't regret a thing. Not a single moment of this. I'd chosen my peace over their chaos, and I wasn't going to let it be stolen again. The aftermath? There's been a bit of radio silence from my side of the family. A few distant relatives who I didn't expect to be involved have reached out to check in on me, some with support, others with more passive-aggressive concern. And I've kept it simple: I'm happy. I'm at peace. I'm moving forward. I'm not looking back anymore. What's funny though, is that the drama didn't even make a dent in the vibe of the celebration. The rest of the day was honestly beautiful. The friends who showed up were genuine, the atmosphere was relaxed, and Aaron and I got to renew our vows in front of people who truly care. The love felt real, and that's what mattered. To all those out there thinking it's impossible to cut ties with toxic family members, don't give up on yourself. You deserve happiness, peace, and respect. Family doesn't have to be blood. It can be the people who show up for you, who support your boundaries, and who truly love you. And I've learned that the hard way. Update 4. Hey Redditors, it's the final update. I know it's been a long ride, but I'm finally ready to wrap this up and share what's happened since the last update. I didn't think it would take this long for things to fully settle, but I guess when family is involved, nothing's ever truly settled until it's been tested to its absolute limits. After the wedding celebration incident, things took a weird turn. Hannah and my mom both went silent for a while. At first, I thought that was a good thing, maybe they finally understood my boundaries and decided to back off. But no, that wasn't the case. What actually happened was they took the silent treatment to another level. They started spreading rumors, again, trying to paint me as a lost cause. I've heard through the grapevine that they've been telling other family members that I'm too emotional and blinded by petty grudges. At first, it stung. I had to keep reminding myself that their perception of me wasn't my reality, but it was hard not to care, especially when you hear it from relatives who you thought would have your back. The worst part? My mom hasn't even tried to reach out. It's like she's convinced herself I'm the one who destroyed the relationship, not them. I haven't gotten a single apology from her, not even for how she tried to manipulate me into letting Hannah run roughshod over me and my wedding. The only person in the family who has really shown any sort of understanding is my dad. He finally reached out after a few weeks of silence, and it wasn't to scold me or take anyone's side. He just said, "I know I haven't been there as much as I should have, but I'm proud of you for standing your ground." Family can be complicated, but it doesn't mean you have to lose yourself in it. That meant the world to me. I didn't expect him to side with me or say anything major, but his support, even in small ways, was enough. On the other hand, Aaron and I are doing great. We've been more connected than ever. The ceremony we had, the second one, was so perfect. There were no interruptions, no one trying to manipulate the situation. Just us, our friends, and a group of people who truly cared about our happiness. We're stronger than ever, and honestly, I can't wait for the next chapter in our lives. As for Hannah and my mom, I haven't heard from them in a while. And I don't plan on reaching out. There's only so much you can do for people who refuse to acknowledge their actions. The ball is in their court now, but I've learned something invaluable throughout this whole experience. My peace is more important than trying to force reconciliation with people who don't respect me. And you know what? The weight that's been lifted off my shoulders by not letting them dictate my happiness is honestly freeing. I've realized I don't need their approval. I don't need them in my life to feel validated. I am enough as I am, and I'm allowed to protect my peace, even if that means walking away from toxic people, no matter who they are. To everyone who supported me and gave me advice, thank you. It honestly means the world that so many of you were here to listen, validate my feelings, and remind me that I wasn't being overdramatic or irrational. It made a huge difference in keeping me grounded. As for the family, well, I'll let them figure it out. I'm not wasting another minute trying to fix what's been broken for years. What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Like the video and hit the subscribe button for more Reddit stories.